The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hello, and hello to the Honey Badger.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Hey guys, been a while since I did this show, so here you go. I'm back.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. New regulation for crypto. Senate hearing sees debate. Earlier this week, the CFTC met and they discussed Bitcoin. Bitcoiners were surprised to find that Senate Chairman Giancarlo was surprisingly in favor of cryptocurrencies, saying that they were new technologies and acting as if they should be careful with them as they were careful with the internet regulation. The idea was first, do no harm. Jeffrey Jones, is Bitcoin regulation good for Bitcoin? Does Congress see it the way we see it?
So, I think at this point, regulation to Bitcoin has been fairly friendly around the world in first world countries. And the U.S. is no exception to this. Obviously, we're stumbling a little bit, in the IRS area with it being a commodity and things like that. But we're trying to make our way and trying to get a little bit better. And I think this is another step towards that. Clearly, the markets thought it was a pretty good idea because we definitely saw an uptick there. So according to the markets, they liked what the Senate had to say. And personally, I liked a lot what the Senate had to say, on both sides, both the SEC and the CFTC. Specifically, a couple things that the SEC were saying. It appears now that they really are kind of doing this whole blanket thing that actually Tone Vase has been saying for years now, that look, pretty much every ICO going to be a security. Like you just can't, you just can't get around it anymore. They're pretty much, they're wise to the game at this point. And I think, this year, what's going to probably be big is all those security tokens, actually like for something using Patrick Byrne's platform, T0. A lot of people are saying that that's supposed to be really big this year. So, that's all great news. The crypto is evolving. The crypto world is becoming more mature, and we're allowing more and more people to get into this game because there are a lot of large institutional investors that would like to get into this game. So it's pretty rare when we have this new technology where it's available to the general public before it's available to the high net worth individual. So that's kind of really cool. But then also on the CFTC side, he was very wise to the fact that Bitcoin is kind of more like digital gold right now. So that was really good to see. And of course, it kind of makes sense being the commodity people, right? That they kind of see Bitcoin more as digital gold. But it was really exciting to hear that I believe the chairman's son and daughter, I believe that he said that his children were coming to him with huge amounts of enthusiasm for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, even despite him trying to get them into the traditional markets and them kind of staying away and not really being very interested. Holy smokes, did they clearly make an impression on him with cryptocurrency. So that was really great to see. Just another example of, the youth and the millennials hopefully will be able to, use crypto to change the world. That's what we're here. That's the whole point. And so that's really great to see. So for me, overall, it looked like a very bullish meeting, and I'm excited to see what's to come.
The kids, yes, the youth. Tone Vase.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to listen to those hearings, but it sounds like it was a repeat of the 2013 Senate hearings, only this time the regulators were actually involved because unlike in 2013, the regulators at least, have an idea of what's going on now, which is something that I heard back then when you first heard a lot of the regulators speak. Like the regulators, they feel completely clueless and they feel like they will never ever be able to do their job. Now we can debate whether their job is good or their job is bad. That's totally debatable. But the fact is that they're with us, and it takes them years to understand what the hell is going on. Then it takes them a couple of years to actually start to enforce some things. And ever since Ethereum came out with their pre-ICO sale to the public, at least Ethereum, did a pre-ICO to the general public. At least Ethereum didn't pre-ICO, by handing it away to a bunch of key influential people to pump your unlicensed, unregistered security, right as it goes to Poloniex and Bittrex for everybody to get out at the top. And it'll be very easy for these regulators, whether US or others, to get a handle on this, figure it out. And until some key people start getting arrested, no one is actually going to care. Now, the general view on this is, well, they can't arrest us all. If we're all doing it, then it doesn't matter, then it's okay. The reality of the situation is, I think everyone agrees that 90% of ICOs are scams. Well, like I think everyone agrees on that. Like I was even at an ICO conference, and every single ICO creator is saying that, well, 90% of ICOs are scams, but not mine. Okay, that's pretty much what I deal with at these ICO conferences. So they all agree that 90% of them are scams, yet they don't see the fact that the average person doesn't have the capacity to select the 10% that are not scams. Now, in reality, even the ones that are saying everybody else is a scam but not me is actually a scam, right? So I end up debating it with that 10%. And I'm sitting here, well, to me, 99.9% of these things are actually scams. At the least, they're unlicensed, unregistered securities. And we don't know who the government is going to go after. Maybe they're not going to go after anyone. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Party's over. Anyone that doesn't go forward is going to automatically, something bad's going to happen, and this will stop. So I don't really, I mean, it's good that the government is taking this approach, but they need to have a real understanding that Bitcoin is not an altcoin, and an altcoin is not an ICO. And ICOs are the worst of them all. Altcoins are second worst, but even within the altcoin space, I can kind of funnel almost all the ICOs into one batch. The altcoins have some diversity within them because very few of them are kind of legit, where there isn't this pre-altcoin phase. But a lot of them are not legit, kind of like Dash and Ripple, where you just create it out of thin air for yourself. And then you get to Bitcoin, which is the only one that's totally legit. So sooner or later, I mean, it depends who's advising these regulators. You know, again, is it Andreas Antonopoulos speaking in front of Congress, or is it the scammer Paul Snow speaking in front of Congress, right? So it really depends on who it is, and we'll see where they go. I mean, it's I'm still cautious. I refuse to use even Bitcoin with connection with my government name in any way.
What I was impressed to see is that the Congress was operating out of hope, not fear. Usually we have a hearing like this and it's Silk Road this and drug money and terrorist and laundering and all of this. Whereas these Congress people, these senators actually seemed to get it. They got that it was a new digital asset classes, that there was many different kinds and different experiments going on. It's much more than just a simple money laundering or drug currency.
Well, right, but remember how you said these Senate hearings, right? Because the prior Senate hearings were all about money laundering, and that was all, oh my God, they're all like liars and cheaters, and they all need to be in prison. So it really depends on which senator is leading the charge. Because if you go back a month or two to the anti-money laundering Senate hearings, that was just painful to listen to.
And let's not get too far into the exit question. A little bit more from Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, just one couple final things. It's true. Like the last meetings were very much about anti-money laundering, but this was not. This was some very, very basic questions. And again, mostly everything was just focused towards these ICOs. It was you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum has already been pretty much declared not a security, right? So at this point, they really do get it. And again, you know, the senator, or the chairman, the CTFC, he said, we don't want to discourage this new generation of kids, right? We don't want to just say no and just say nope, not going to happen. They really, really are sensitive, you know, being very sensitive to that issue, and I think that's just really important. And the senators from the hearing that I've seen, I think, Tony, you'll be pleasantly surprised when you watch this at the understanding that all these senators have. Yeah, of course, most of them are, you know, much older in generation, and they don't really 100% get it, but they're getting the macro, they're getting the big picture, and that's what's really, really important for this. And all of them, in my opinion, all of them seem to be bullish on crypto as a whole, but they just came down hard on ICOs. So again, bullish for Bitcoin, but not so much for ICOs.
And I think losing the new generation is a very important point. If you look back at the MP3 and the copyright revolution of the 2000s, a lot of smart people said, there's no way I'm getting into the law. There's no way I'm getting into the professions because of the MP3s, because of the music industry and the piracy and the reaction to these new technologies, where now we see services like iTunes and Spotify where you can just get your music, pay your monthly fee. That's pretty much all the people were asking for. But instead, as Lawrence Lessig said, the creator of Creative Commons, they turned an entire generation off to these legal ideas. And now we're far poorer for it in the legal discussion. Moving on to the exit question. The next Senate hearing, while I don't have the details, I do know it is scheduled for February 14th. Forecasting into the future, will the Senate hearing be positive or negative for Bitcoin? Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I think it's going to be positive, as these hearings continuously are. They've actually been positive for some time now. Even that FinCEN meeting, so many years back in 2013 was still positive. That's why the price shot straight up after it. So there's just not been a whole lot of negative hearings from over the past few years that I've seen.
Tone Vase.
It'll probably be a short-term positive, like what happened in 2013. Again, like those hearings were in November. I remember them very well. This could be a short-term positive, but at the end of the day, they're still going to come down on it, right? Like it's governments don't like losing control of anything, especially when it comes to money. I mean, they'll get a handle on the security aspect of things, but they're not going to be able to stop Bitcoin and the fact that it's money. That's now decentralized. So short term, I mean, long term, again, until I see actual laws allowing you to do something, I'm going to assume they're going to have laws that will not allow you to do it, right? It's like we need a law saying marijuana is legal, not this limbo thing, right? Like the states, like they made a law, marijuana is now legal, like, or decriminalized. Need to see that, right? Because it's not worth it. It's not worth taking a chance. I mean, some people want to go on a limb, but I'm not.
All right, moving on. Just like to ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. We have more than 300 live viewers, and I think we'd have more if you gave us a thumbs up. Thanks for your support. Issue 2. Dow Jones drops another 1,000 points in a week. Crypto markets don't quite follow. The Dow Jones Industrial Average suffered several sell-offs this week, losing up to 500 and even 1,000 points per day, as the markets declined from 26,000 to 23,000. Many in the financial industries were quick to tie the Dow Jones to Bitcoin, which also went up and came down recently. The question of the day is the Dow Jones correlated to Bitcoin? If the Dow goes down, will Bitcoin go down? Tone Vase.
Hey guys, I'm actually going to do a screen share just to pull up the chart. So I don't have the Dow Jones. I have the S&P 500, which is the proxy that I generally use for the stock market. And I actually did a video this morning when I was talking about the Bitcoin price, and I took a look at the S&P, and I had no idea that the market rebounded in the last 2.5 hours of trading, 2.5 to 3 hours of trading. The market like rallied to the upside. And just as the market was hitting the very bottom, I talked about how, hey guys, this is like a great time to buy the dip. And I actually had no idea the market reversed because I'm a little under the weather, so I actually went to sleep right after I did my market video this morning. So I'm like looking at this just now and going, holy shit. So I'm going to the 1 hour chart. So again, this is how markets bottom. And ironically, this was actually a 13 on the hourly chart when this candle opened. And then boom, it shot up to the upside. I had this green arrow drawn. This is really, really crazy. And this is also, look at the hourly chart. I know not everyone's a trader, but look at this divergence. Look at this divergence. I mean, the MACD, not so much, a little bit, right? You get a higher low, you get a higher cross. And the RSI, very clear divergence. It's looking pretty good right now for a reversal. Going back to the daily, looks like the S&P will bounce back right on the 9 as well. And I don't really see a correlation here at all, right? Because if even if I go back to the 1 hour chart, so the market rebounded in the last few hours, and here is the hourly chart of Bitcoin. So the market closed somewhere here. So Bitcoin was already rallying since midnight last night, even though the market doesn't trade at night. So Bitcoin was rallying all day. The stock market was falling pretty much all morning and then reversed. If we flip on the daily chart, you can see that the market has been falling ever since January 26th. And if we look at the Bitcoin price, let me see, January 26th. January 26th was also where Bitcoin kind of made a short top. But remember, Bitcoin's been falling since, what day is that? Since December, right? I mean, we topped on December 17th, and we've been falling ever since. Here's the stock market, and the stock market topped January 26th, right? And December 17th, the stock market was, 2,600 and rallied. Like, I don't understand where the correlation is. Like, it's non-existent, guys. Just because two assets fall at the same time for 3 days, it doesn't make it a trend. So I continue to say that the Bitcoin is completely uncorrelated to anything in the stock market, and you would diversify your traditional portfolio by adding an uncorrelated asset to it, which is Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin is correlated to anything. It's not correlated to gold. I don't think it's correlated to anything. It's a completely uncorrelated asset to your traditional markets, which is why it is so good for a diversified portfolio.
So, Tone, do you think they could be trying to gain an advantage by claiming that Bitcoin is correlated, adding a weakness to Bitcoin?
Maybe. I mean, it's like I've been saying at all these events, like everyone, like 99% of the people you will meet, they all have an incentive to destroy Bitcoin because they're all trying to sell you their version of Bitcoin. Whether it's, even if it's a Litecoin guy, right? Like everyone, every single project in the crypto space relies on demonizing Bitcoin to prove why they're better. And they will come up with any excuse in the book. And now other people just, they just want attention, right? They want to prove something that isn't there. I personally do not see any correlation, but all I do is I see people all the time trying to demonize Bitcoin, and it's amazing how you speak in front of a room of noobs, and they're all like, "But Bitcoin is so slow, and Bitcoin is so expensive," and it's like so not true, and like they don't even know how clean the mempool is right now. I just sent the transaction. I paid 50 cents, and I grossly overpaid because I got it to the next block. Like, it's it's not. It'll work itself out. It'll work itself out. I mean, I don't know what people are thinking, but I just don't see any correlation there.
Well, I actually watched this segment, and they overlaid the two lines, and it just looked like two lines that if you looked at long enough, you would assume they're together. It
Yeah,
didn't
but you
look
know
like
what?
they were
I
just
get.
drawing lines like, oh, eventually your mind will make a connection there. There wasn't actually a connection. It wasn't.
No. Can I just take a wild guess? One of those lines like green and the other one blue, and it come from Zero Hedge?
I think it was a Wells Fargo analyst. He was on CNBC, and they had the lines, and it looked like Bitcoin had gone up a lot and then corrected. It looked like the Dow had gone up a lot and corrected, but I didn't
Yeah.
know the time scales. And they
Right.
just kind of laid them next to each other, and you're like, oh, I guess those look the same.
Yeah, it's I wish I had like a really simple way. I mean, if I had a Bloomberg terminal and I do screen share, it would be easy to show the correlation that doesn't exist. It would be obvious. But Like Zero Hedge is notorious for doing this. They will they will pick like they will take two assets that have been trading for like 50 years. They will look at only the last 2 days, and they will go, oh my God, look, they were correlated for like a day and a half, and then boom, they go into separate directions, right? Like Zero Hedge, like they have a serious problem with scale. It frustrates me. It always did. That's why I stopped like reading that publication.
At a certain point, it's like weather forecasting and baseball statistics. But Jeffrey Jones, is Bitcoin surrounded by enemies on all sides, like a zombie Julius Caesar marching forward, knives sticking out of its back everywhere, undeterred?
Yep, Bitcoin is always going to have enemies at the ready because it does threaten the old system, right? It threatens so much with its promise to create something new. It threatens the old regimes. And so, of course, it's going to continue to have enemies, just like the internet had many enemies as it was continuing to just destroy newspaper after newspaper. You know, it depends on who you talk to. But if you're a newspaper person, you probably didn't like the internet because it went out of business. But at the end of the day, this is progress. This is what we're trying to do. And, Zero Hedge, wow. They haven't been, very accurate in my opinion in years. They're at this point they're just kind of throwing darts at the wall at this point in my opinion. I get like Tone, I've stopped reading that publication. It's just interesting, like Tone, I can't freaking believe that people thought that this was correlated in any way. Bitcoin's been going down forever. They're cherry picking timeframes, completely cherry, and that's what Zero Hedge does too. Just cherry picks these ridiculous timeframes and then tries to find correlation. Because again, like these people need to publish something. They need to seem relevant. And so they come up with these crazy things. That's why it's so important to, filter out who you follow, because there's so much noise on mainstream and everywhere. And this is just another example of that crazy noise that you're going to find out there. And, as far as the S&P, I mean, look, we've been printing money for years now. We've been printing trillions for years. The S&P has been going up pretty steadily for hasn't had a down day almost like in years almost. And I think at this point, it's pretty clear that if the unwinding starts to happen, and show itself in the stock market, it's going to be a huge unwinding, and it's going to be a pretty big crash, because we built this thing up with printed money, with fake money. So, the crash is going to have to reflect at least all the money that we printed. So that's going to be a pretty big crash if that happens. And, Bitcoin continues to be non-correlated in every sense of the word. Like if you had to put a percentage on it, like maybe 0.1, but even that, it's pretty much zero. It's not one. It's not -1. This thing is not even close to being correlated with anything. And again, we've been expecting this correction in Bitcoin for some time now. Tone has as well. Tone's been saying that we were going to go down to 7,600. And so we have. It's completely at this point. Nobody can guess the numbers, but when you go straight up to $20,000, you're going to have to come back down pretty hard. We went up so fast that we have to come back down. And again, Bitcoin is proving itself as this non-correlated asset, as this safe haven. This is the safe haven. There just is barely any places in the planet to put your money. There just isn't, unless you're a billionaire and you can pay JP Morgan to put your money offshore. And even then, that's pretty risky. There's just nothing that's ever been like Bitcoin, where anybody in the world can store their wealth, save their money, store their wealth for their children. And it's just unprecedented, and it continues to prove itself as the S&P goes down. But in my opinion, I think that we're going to see more and more of this. I think we're going to see more of gold being down, oil being down, dollar being down, and then Bitcoin being up. And that's the future.
Yeah, I just want to get back in here real quick. I overlaid them, but they're not like overlaid in percentage terms. Like you can just see how much more volatile Bitcoin has been. Bitcoin is in the background. I mean, that's the S&P. I know I have like overlaid all of my, there's a big overlay there with the graphics and stuff. But I mean, Bitcoin clearly topped on a daily basis way earlier. So like Bitcoin like crashed a lot. S&P was still going up. Now the S&P crash looks like they both bottomed at around the same time. But I mean, Bitcoin is just way more volatile. And I don't know. It's just a coincidence that we both bottomed at the same time. I mean, coincidences do happen, right? I was joking around. It's like everyone was panicking that the Dow fell exactly 666 points on Friday. So I fed the conspiracists and I showed up how the S&P bottomed at 666 back in 2009. Like, guys, it's just they're just coincidences. Like, they happen. Like, once every 10 years, you're gonna get a weird number, you know?
I think that builds well into the exit question. Forced dual prediction. The Dow this time next week and the price of Bitcoin this time next week. Higher or lower? Tone Vase.
Oh, there was. I was going first. I'm more confident that the Dow is going to be higher at this time next week than I am about Bitcoin being higher at this time next week. I think Bitcoin is still in a somewhat of a fragile state, bouncing off of 6,000. The daily, the shorter term, I mean, the hourly doesn't really count in this case when we're looking at a week from today. The daily is showing signs of bullishness, but the weekly is still bearish to neutral. So I'm more confident that the S&P will be higher, a little less confident that Bitcoin is higher, but I am leaning like 51, 52% that Bitcoin will be higher next week. But this is also why I'm doing like once or twice a day videos right now, because like I don't know. I have to look at it like multiple times a day. And with every new data point, there is a different outcome for me to talk about.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, we're certainly not out of the woods quite yet. Traditionally we've had like 71 or 72-day bear markets, and it's kind of like been 54 days. So we still got a couple weeks to go if we are going to get out of this. And so, like Tone says, it's pretty much in a holding pattern at this point. We could definitely still go down possibly, but of course I'm hoping that we go up over the next couple of weeks. We have found some support, but it's whether or not it will hold, nobody knows. But no matter what, one thing is for sure, and that is that Bitcoin always goes up over time eventually.
Oh, can I just mention one last very quick thing? Only because on my show this morning, I also showed my traditional trade, and I know there is some cross between people. So I just want to show them that, like in the morning, I was so happy to exit this trade at a price of 14. My entry was the 11, and at one point during my live show, I could have entered at an exit of 35. So by exiting at 35 instead of 14, based on my position size of 10, that was a $20,000 miss that I could have had by holding out 2 more hours. But as you can see, if I had waited into the close of market, the best I could have done was somewhere in between 7 and 9, plus that one. So I would have gotten out at under 10. So it's not always bad to get out of your trades early, as long as you know it's a profit, and holding on too long and then missing your chance and leaving with a loss. So that's the difference in volatile trading on a day like today.
The Dow will go down and Bitcoin will go up. The short-term political climate is bad for the president and bad for market confidence. Maybe good for America, though. Did you know the World Crypto Network has a podcast? You can listen to the World Crypto Network on iTunes. We've got Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Adam Meister, and much, much more. Even Richard Hart, all on the World Crypto Network audio podcast. Issue 3, Coinbase, Bitcoin Segwit testing in final phase and available soon. At long last, and after 12,000 people signed the petition asking Coinbase to deploy Segwit, Coinbase has finally given us more information than the 2-word answer, in 2018. Now, in 2018, Coinbase is in the final phase and presumably deploying Segwit soon, which will mean cheaper and quicker Bitcoin transactions for all Coinbase users. They may also include batching transactions, which would further lower fees and reduce spam on the Bitcoin network. Jeffrey Jones, good news for Coinbase, good news for Bitcoin.
So, it's good news for both Coinbase and Bitcoin. But of course, I still can't bring myself to like Coinbase with their crazy KYC stuff that they got going on. It's really interesting that they did get this going in now after credit cards got shut off and people exited the market. Maybe they're realizing that maybe they need to serve the hodlers. Maybe they need to serve their main clientele base instead of worrying about crypto kitties. It's really interesting. I'm really happy that they're doing this. We have to give Coinbase some props because they said they were going to do it, and they're doing it. We didn't have to wait till all the way to the end of 2018. So that's really good to see. Again, we've seen the mempool clearing out. We've seen Segwit transactions go up. That's really great. But again, it's like every time I like Coinbase, they do something that just upsets me. Like, so for example, they try to say that they are launching $2,500 a month towards open source development. Sweet, $2,500 a month. Like that doesn't even pay one developer's monthly bills. So it's just it's them trying to kind of make us a little happy, right? I feel like it's almost like they're just trying to keep us docile, right? They're trying to throw us a couple bones so they can keep operating and keep doing their thing. But at the end of the day, right now, like I said, like I've always said, Coinbase is a temporary company. We're not going to need them forever. We're going to need them during this onboarding phase as we try to get new users into Bitcoin and into cryptocurrencies. But over the long term, I just don't see a need for them. But again, happy to see this finally happening because, again, more and more players need to implement Segwit, big players such as blockchain.info and Coinbase for the whole network as a whole to benefit. So because remember, Segwit was launched all the way back last summer, right? But it's only now that these large companies are finally capitulating, finally implementing Segwit into their systems. And so this is just another example that illustrates, Bitcoin development takes time. Things take time with Bitcoin. We really don't move fast and break things. Things take years to talk about, to discuss, to eventually activate and find that actual consensus. Because remember, Bitcoin, again, the only actual decentralized blockchain at scale. So it takes time to find that consensus.
And don't forget, Coinbase also has their first major competitor in Square, helmed by half of Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter. I'd take half of Jack Dorsey over all of Brian Armstrong. Tone Vase, Coinbase Segwit. Are they out of the doghouse, or is this too little too late?
No, it's a combination of too little too late, and also we don't know when they're going to launch this thing. Like Vortex, why do you think it'll be before the end of 2018? Like what?
Well, they sent me a tweet. They sent me a tweet. They said in 2018, but many, of course, went right to, oh, you mean the stroke of midnight on December 31st, 2018.
But real quick, they say that they have basically done it, and they're in the final stages of testing. So in theory, Tone, we have to assume that it's kind of done already. They're just ready.
I know, but blockchain.info told us in 2017 that they were ready for Segwit, and I'm still waiting, right?
I'm still waiting for Mt. Gox to adopt Litecoin. The Midas trading engine will solve all of our problems.
So we don't know when they're actually going to launch it. Now, you just told me that they have decided to contribute $2,500 a month to open source development. I pay my developer more money. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? Like, that's embarrassing. Like, why do you even don't even say that? Like,
dude, they had a whole blog post about it and everything, celebrating it. I don't know.
The developer that works on the random number generator makes more money. It's ridiculous, right? Like, oh God, that's just bad. Look, the problem that Coinbase faces, which they really should do a better job of, is their clients actually get rejected. Like, it's not that like the bank rejects the transactions of those clients to Coinbase. It's the bank drops those people from ever accessing that bank again, right? That is something Coinbase needs to take very, very seriously. They need to somehow be out there and managing these relationships with the banks, saying that, hey, fine, you don't like us, you wanna but don't remove your customer, don't remove this person from having banking altogether just because that person wanted to buy from Coinbase. At least do that.
It's an interesting argument for Bitcoin, right? The whole unbanked argument. The banks are actually debanking people. They're actually creating more of the problem that Bitcoin's intended to solve.
Correct. So you just got to be real careful there. I don't know. Coinbase, I continue to say they always find the worst possible way to do something. They continue to do that. Like Jesus, like Brian Armstrong. Start listening to better people. Stop listening to Bcash people. Stop listening to altcoin people. Just why don't you work with current core developers? Okay, why don't you work with anyway?
They do have some contributions to Lightning, but yeah.
Well, and I was going to throw this out on Twitter, but I didn't want to be flippant. But if we're going to discuss this, I was going to say Coinbase should hire Peter Todd. Peter Todd will tell them what they're doing wrong, and if they listen to him, they'll improve. Something like that. They need someone above them, someone with a voice of reason who can say, you've got this homepage that's like 4 random coins, and we're sending people to you to buy Bitcoin, and they're coming home with Bcash or Litecoin or Ethereum, and they don't know the difference. They only see the price, and something's wrong with this webpage. They can't figure out that they can buy $20 worth of Bitcoin. This webpage is confusing the way that it works. Maybe it's supposed to be that way, but if they wanted to change it, if they wanted to improve it, they have money. They could hire somebody.
Yeah, Peter Todd is a consultant. Just hire him for a day. How about that? It'll cost you more than $2,500. Actually, Peter Todd's not that expensive. It may not cost you more than $2,500, but hire, get a real consultant in there. But instead, they want to, they focused on Bcash. And they focused on Bcash too late, right? Like they should have at least given people their Bcash early, right? Instead of going 100% Bcash like 6 months later than they should have.
They always seem to be following the trends. Remember, we were saying Polynex was making all this money in fees and altcoins. Coinbase wanted to follow that. They get there by the time it's done. They'll get to the ICOs and Congress will outlaw them. I mean, they'll make them securities.
It'll be anyway. Like. I think we talk about Coinbase too much here.
Yeah, that's enough. I think we covered Coinbase.
All right, moving on to the exit question. Which would you recommend going forward, Coinbase or Square? Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, on so many things, technology-wise, principle-wise, everything-wise, I guess I would try out Square first, and I would try out the Robinhood app and everything first before I'd go to Coinbase. But again, Coinbase really has that monopoly right now, but that is going to be short-lived with all of this competition coming in 2018.
Tone Vase.
Well, my default answer is going to have to be Square, right? Even though I know nothing about them, I just know that Coinbase is clearly not ever does anything right. So my default answer has to be Square.
Square is a nice app on your phone for trying out Bitcoin. Mine hasn't been activated yet, but I'll try it again today. And I think it'd be neat, but it doesn't have that recurring buy feature. Maybe the Robinhood app would have this as they're more of an investment focused thing. But I think for a lot of people, setting that recurring buy at maybe $10 a week or $100 a week or whatever and forgetting it, that's how they should be investing, is dollar cost averaging.
Hey, does anybody know how the Robinhood app, like how does it connect to your bank?
Presumably it's similar to the other Robinhood stocks. I think you can put in like $100 and then you could buy Bitcoin. I think that it doesn't have a withdrawal function. So
no, but how do you put in the question is, how do you put in the $100?
Well, I'm sure it's a ACH or a bank link, like a standard takes 2 days, or maybe you can use a debit or credit card. They have those kind of faster loading ones now. It's got to be something traditional.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would assume it's something just like E-Trade. Yeah, just like E-Trade, I would assume something simple like that. But they do have over 1 million people actually waiting right now that have subscribed to the Bitcoin trading.
And it would be curious to see if Robinhood has the same problem, if people have their bank accounts shut down for using Robinhood crypto like they do for using Coinbase crypto, like Tone was saying. Moving on to issue 4, Bitcoin Civil War hit InfoWars last night, and it was bizarre. Roger Ver appeared on Alex Jones's popular InfoWars program, presumably to talk about Bitcoin. Unfortunately for Roger or for Alex, Roger was there to talk about Bcash, something very different than Bitcoin. Alex Jones, without his desire or wishes, found himself smack dab in the middle of the Bitcoin Civil War. The callers were incredibly rude and crude to Roger, destroying his Bcash and describing him as a scammer. Alex seemed mixed, telling jokes about Transformers and imitating the voice of Optimus Prime. Tone Vase, your thoughts on Alex Jones, Bcash, and the Roger Ver continuing Bitcoin Jesus unraveling?
Well, again, I don't listen to any Roger Vere's public appearances. I did listen to the one with Bitcoin Eralog because that was it was too much
The
too much
ones
hype
with
over
the
there.
infamous hand gestures. Oh
Correct.
yes.
Be cash, be cash, be cash.
Correct. Yeah, so I mean, you can't blame Alex Jones here because Alex Jones doesn't know, right? Roger has a huge media behind him. He's got plenty of people, and I'm sure that his, history makes him this prominent person to interview. So, but this was great because Alex Jones has this live call-in show on like CNBC, for example. Therefore, Alex Jones realized by force that hey, this was a bad idea, and Roger isn't selling you Bitcoin; he's selling you a horrible fork of Bitcoin. So this is great. I mean, more of these are needed, and uh, hopefully, next time they'll vet their guests better and be ready for him. He needs to get someone else on there. Anyone. Go grab Andreas. Go grab somebody else. There's not that many pure Bitcoin guys left, but we're still around.
What I found funny about this was it was the opposite of what I thought would happen. I thought Alex Jones would love Roger's conspiracy theories of Blockstream taking over the Bitcoin and AXA, Bilderberg Group, and all this kind of stuff. Alex usually is into that, but you're right, Tone. Because of the call-in show, because of the truth of the audience at home, Alex couldn't ignore that maybe there's something wrong with this supposed Bitcoin spokesman that he had there. Maybe he was selling Bcash, which he has various other reasons to sell. Jeffrey Jones, your thought on Roger Vere's questionable InfoWars experience?
Yeah, so it's I just, man, I feel so bad for poor Alex. I mean, he's caught in the middle of this multi-year debate. We've been in this debate for years, and here he just comes in. He's trying to hop on the crypto craze, the Bitcoin craze, the bandwagon of everybody talking about crypto. But the poor guy is not going to be understanding the space anytime soon. He knows a lot of things, definitely a lot of things rattling around up there, but he just simply hasn't and never will be like a tech guy, right? He's not very much of a tech. He hires people to build that studio for him, right? He's simply not much of a tech guy. And to throw him into the middle of this debate that's been for years and years, this huge history, wide history. I mean, people leaving, rage quitting, just years of this. It's unfortunate that he to anybody, actually, I guess, coming into this, trying to figure things out, they're going to have to go through this history. They're going to have to watch World Crypto Network videos. They're going to have to see, what happened. If they really want to be honest, if they with their audiences, and they really want to share the truth, they're going to have to do the research. And so he absolutely Roger absolutely tried to appeal to Alex with his conspiracy theories. He brought up the whole Bilderberg AXA thing, of course, to try to bait Alex. It's so clear. I mean, remember, they pumped Bitcoin Cash to 25% plus when everything else was down. They pumped that thing on a single exchange, OKX, where all the volume was coming from, just like they did with BitThumb. Same thing. Before any appearance, they pumped that thing. They pumped the coin up to make it look, and even on Alex Jones' show, they zoomed in. They zoomed in nice and big on that 25% gain where all the other coins were actually down for the day. And so it's just becoming so clear, so transparent. Roger himself and all of his tactics. The community is just at this point really waking up to what the heck is going on. And the call-ins were absolutely great. Like, shout out to CoinLord, to CoinLord out there. Look, what do you expect, Roger? You're trying to take an open source project. You're trying to take over an open source project. You're trying to take the name away, man. You're trying to defraud people. You are scamming people. For wherever you go, Roger, you will have people on your tail as long as you continue to do this. Whatever call-in show you go to, I promise you, there will be somebody there calling out Bcash, calling out the scam that you're trying to do. And so, this is just great to see these people coming out of the woodwork to try to bring the truth to people. Roger is becoming less and less relevant again with his tactics becoming more and more transparent. At this point, I'm thinking by the end of the year, like nobody will remember Roger's name. Lightning will be integrated across everybody's technology stack, and that'll be that.
Truly the rage of the internet. Although I was impressed with Alex Jones's Transformer voice. That was really cool. And to think of it and try to put it into context, it's as if back in the day on Free Talk Live, they'd invited Bitcoin Jesus to come on to talk about Bitcoin. And instead he told you how good Megacoin was. And you're like, I don't know if this Megacoin business is going to play. We invited you here on for Bitcoin. It's some kind of confusion in Roger's mind. Tone, did you have more on this?
No, just a quick thing, because even you mentioned OKX exchange, and that was pumping Bcash, and I just happened to look at my Twitter, and someone mentioned that exchange just implemented Segwit. So that's great. And again,
That's
more
awesome.
and more, yeah. So more and more people are putting Segwit in, and soon we will have Lightning. And we've put a lot of I guess, stock into Lightning. And I know nothing about the Lightning technology. I just don't. I'm not capable of understanding that technology. I just trust the smart people that have gotten us this far with Bitcoin. And if they believe that Lightning will work, then I have to believe that Lightning will work, right? And so far, I'm happy with the current progress in the Bitcoin scaling.
Exit question. How badly burned was the Alex Jones show by their Bitcoin adventure? Will there be another Bitcoin expert on the InfoWars show within 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years? Tone Vase.
Definitely within 6 weeks. They're gonna. I think their producers are gonna think about this. I mean, they're not. They are trying to run a show. They're trying to stay their user base, and a lot of their user base are crypto. I mean, I know Julia Turiansky has been on that show a couple of times. She's even, hosted for Alex Jones, for a short amount of time when he had to step away or something, and call her. She knows, she understands what Bitcoin is. No, they'll have somebody else within 6 months to explain it the right way.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, a couple things I thought that was important to mention is that he actually did claim to have sold almost all of his Bitcoin for Bitcoin Cash on that show. So for that is significant if that was true, but I don't remember him claiming that anywhere else where he actually did, in fact, claim to publicly say, "Hey, look, I sold sold most of my Bitcoin." He actually did say that on that show.
He said on Mad Bitcoins that he intended to do it, but it's a different thing if he said that he's actually done it.
So he actually said that he actually did. And so, that would be amazing news if that was true, right? We can only pray and hope that he actually sold all of his coin for Bitcoin Cash. But come on, I mean, think about it, guys. Is he going to dump 90% of his value? Of course, he's not going to dump 90% of his net worth, into something as horrible as Bitcoin Cash. But look, he's got to say something to get his audience, happy. And I hope they really do get some more experts on Alex Jones. Like Tone said, they want to do a good show. They don't want to have a horrible show. So they want to have a lively debate between people. And I hope that next time they can screen their callers a little bit better to try to get, some people like Coin Lord on there, and then maybe a Bitcoin Cash person to try to defend Roger or something, just so we can see, because they're going to do a horrible job anyway, but because they got nothing to stand on. But at least it would have made the conversation a little bit more balanced.
It would have been nice to see someone like Andreas on there. It's pretty ironic that the Joe Rogan show would have so much better Bitcoin representation than the InfoWars show. You think politics, InfoWars would be more on the cutting edge. Joe Rogan, more of a mixed martial art, more of a philosophy mixed show, different kind of show. But that's it for the 4 topics we had. So we're moving on to predictions or a story of the week. Jeffrey Jones, you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Oh, I'm not. I really got to start doing that more. But I guess I'm just excited about the whole ecosystem for the year. I mean, the things that are coming down. You know what? I do have a little bit. I do have something. Let me just grab it real quick. because I think this is pretty big and important. So
All right,
Gregory,
we'll play the stalling music. The chat is really scrolling by today. I'm seeing a lot of chat. So shout out to you, chat. I can't read you. You're too fast.
Shout out to the chat for sure. But just real quick, my story would be that what Gregory Maxwell has recently released, which is Taproot. So he's recently released some information about this just in mid-January. He actually put out a paper, something called Taproot. And this is great because, you know, Gregory was just recently left as the CTO of Blockstream to focus more on Bitcoin. And we're seeing it already. Like, it hasn't even been a month or something, and we're already getting this amazing paper that's Taproot. So very awesome stuff. CoinDesk has an article on it. Guys, I recommend check that out. But this is really cool technology because this is going to allow us to really optimize the blockchain even more and work well with Mast. And I mean, with this combined with Mast, we could basically like put, you know, and bulletproofs, we could basically like put the whole blockchain in like 4 or 5 gigabytes. I mean, it's just ridiculous how optimized this technologies, how much optimization these technologies will bring to Bitcoin and to its entire ecosystem. There's so much more on the way too, guys. But this is really great. Check that out. Taproot, paper released by Gregory Maxwell.
All right, Jeffrey Jones is fired up. Tone Vase, have you got a prediction or a story of the week?
I don't really have a story of the week. I haven't paid attention to the news too much. I mean, I can glance at the price of Bitcoin, but also as I was just scrolling through my notifications, I see this tweet by Trace Mayer, and it looks like the documentary Magic Money is actually available for free on YouTube, which is interesting. It's the documentary that Trace was in, it's the documentary that I was in. Yeah, I know Roger Ver is in it as well, but this is before the whole big block debate.
It's still good. I recommend it still. Still good.
Before very useful times, before the empire.
And go ahead and check that out. Other than that, let's just take a quick peek at the price of Bitcoin, hovering around 84, 8,500. Again, the weekly chart needs a little bit of help. We're going to have to wait till next week, till Monday, in order to really project what the weekly chart is doing. The daily chart is bullish, but again, you got to be, I was really hoping that the current candle would be closing, you know, around 8,000, and then we go higher. So I don't know. The Bitcoin price still makes me a little bit nervous, but it's better. I mean, it's better today than it was a week ago, and we'll see. We'll continue to make slightly higher highs and slightly higher lows. This is the 4-hour chart, so that looks good. And the 1-hour chart is also pulling back a little bit, but still pretty good. So Bitcoin is starting to get a little bit bullish here, but just trade it very carefully. HODL is the strategy that I would recommend still.
All right. Thanks, Tone, for that report. And my story of the week, I've had a great time doing Bitcoin Talk Show. We've been doing a call-in show. You can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We started out doing it in the mornings. We weren't getting that many calls. I think people were stuck at work. I've kind of tried to do it later in the day now, kind of the afternoon drive time. I think more people are getting off work and we're getting more calls. I'm going to try to do it again today. I feel like I talk a lot, but maybe I've got a little bit more left. It's Friday. And I thought today's topic would be good to talk about Bitcoin basics. What do you wish you'd known when you'd started? What would you tell a new person? What mistakes did you make that you want to stop other people from making? Because we talked a little bit about hardware wallets yesterday, and people maybe weren't ready for that yet. Maybe they need a big refresher there. So I think we're going to try to start off small and do some Bitcoin basics talk. So add us on Skype, and we're going to do that maybe in a couple hours, around 4 or 5 in the afternoon Pacific time. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and the share. That helps more people find the show. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe down below to the World Crypto Network. We've got the Vortex with the Bitcoin News Show coming up on Sunday around noon. It's going to have some very interesting guests, no doubt. We got Andy Hoffman has been going off with his crypto vlogs this week. And we're always working on adding new shows. Remember, we got the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, and we might move to a new host soon. But you can go and subscribe on iTunes. Everything will stay the same. And the podcast also has Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Adam Meister, Richard Hart, and much, much more. If you want to donate Bitcoin, you can use the QR code on your screen. But Until next time, we're out of time. Bye bye.